You are 27. You have $23,000 saved. It took 4 years to build that number. 4 years of automated savings transfers, of bringing lunch, of driving a car with 91,000 miles on it that your friends stopped asking about because the answer was always the same. You have $23,000 and a pre-approval letter and a listing you've been looking at for 11 days. The house costs $247,000. 3 bedrooms, a small yard, a neighborhood that isn't impressive yet but has the right bones, good school district, a coffee shop that opened on the corner 6 months ago. The inspector found a few things: water heater near the end of its life, a gutter that needs resealing, nothing structural. Your agent's name is Marcus. He says offer $241,000 and see what happens. You sleep on it for 1 night. This is where it splits. Path A, the buyer, age 27. You make the offer on a Tuesday morning. They counter at $244,500. You accept. Closing costs land at $6,200. You write the check with hands that are steadier than you expected. The keys are handed to you in a parking lot by a woman named Diane, who lived there for 19 years. She cries once quickly, then pulls herself together and shakes your hand and gets in her daughter's car. You drive to the house alone. You sit on the floor of the living room because you don't have furniture yet. The room is empty. The walls are someone else's color. The carpet was chosen by people you will never meet. Sitting there in the silence of a space that is legally and financially yours for the first time in your life, you feel something you cannot fully name. Not happiness exactly, something more structural, like a weight that has been redistributed. Mortgage payment, $1,640 a month. Principal, interest, taxes, insurance. It is $220 more than your previous rent. You adjust. You pack lunch an extra day. You cancel a subscription. It takes 3 weeks to feel normal. Then it is just your life. Path B, the waiter, age 27. You don't make the offer, not because you can't, because the timing doesn't feel right. The rate is 6.9%, and you've read that rates might come down. Your friend Devon just bought and said the process nearly broke him. You'd rather wait and be certain. You move to a nicer apartment instead. Rent is $1,480 a month. Your own space, clean kitchen, a gym in the building you use for 2 months and then don't. You keep the $23,000 in savings, liquid, flexible, ready. You tell yourself this is the smart move. Most days you believe it. Path A, the buyer, age 28 to 30. The water heater fails at month 7, $1,100. It comes from a maintenance fund you started the month you moved in, $150 a month, into a separate account for exactly this. You don't panic. You call a plumber named Ellis. 4 hours, done. You paint the living room on a Sunday in November. You do it badly. You do it again the following weekend. By 29, the house no longer looks like someone else's choices. It looks like yours. The bookshelves are yours. The light fixture is yours. The creak on the 3rd stair is yours. At 30, you refinance. Rates have dropped to 5.8%. New payment, $1,540. You put the $100 difference directly into the principal. Your loan officer is a quiet woman named Yemi. She explains amortization in 15 minutes in a way no one ever did before. You understand for the first time how much of the early payment is interest and how extra principal payments attack the loan from a different angle. You start making 1 extra payment a year, $1,640, applied directly to the balance, bypassing interest entirely. Home value at 30, $271,000. The market moved. You didn't do anything except own it and keep paying. Mortgage balance, $229,800. Equity, $41,200. Path B, the waiter, age 28 to 30. Rent increases at renewal. $1,480 becomes $1,560. You accept. The neighborhood is good. You have a life here. At 29, you look at listings again. The $247,000 house is gone. Similar homes in that neighborhood now list at $263,000. Rates are 7.1%, not what you expected, not the clarity you were waiting for. You decide to wait a little longer. Your savings account has grown to $31,000. You feel like you're building towards something. You are, but it does not build the way equity builds. It does not appreciate the way an asset appreciates. It sits and earns 4.1% APY, while the houses you're watching earn 9% a year in a market that didn't get the memo that you were waiting. At 30, your rent is $1,640 a month, the same number as the mortgage would have been at 27, but this payment leaves no residue, no equity, no principal being reduced, no refinancing option waiting for you. It buys you the right to stay one more month and nothing else. You calculate late one night what you have paid in rent since 27, 36 months, average more than $1,510 a month, $54,360, none of which remain anywhere. You close the calculator. You don't look at that number again for a long time. The gap at age 30. Path A, home equity $41,200, savings intact, mortgage payment $1,540 after refinancing. Path B, savings $31,000, rent $1,640, no equity, $54,360 paid to a landlord. The distance is not one number. It is equity plus the direction each dollar is pointed. One set of dollars is building something that grows while you sleep. The other is buying permission to stay. Here's what nobody tells you about renting while you wait. The wait is never neutral. It has a cost. The cost is invisible because it is distributed across months of normal life, so no single month feels like the wrong decision. Together, they are expensive. Together, they compound in the wrong direction. The shift, waiting for certainty, is a choice. Every choice has a compounding cost. Path A, the buyer, age 31 to 35. At 31, you convert the basement, unfinished when you bought it. You spend $11,400 over 8 months, weekends, a contractor named Ray who charges fair and shows up when he says. The basement becomes a one-bedroom unit. You list it at $895 a month. A graduate student named Clara moves in, quiet, pays on time, has never once called after 9 p.m. For the next 3 years, the basement generates $895 a month gross, after utilities and a maintenance reserve, $760 net. Mortgage payment, $1,540. Effective housing cost, after rental income, $780 a month. You are 33. You have lived here 6 years. Home appraised at $301,000. Mortgage balance, $198,400. Equity, $102,600. 6 years, over $100,000 in equity. A tenant covering most of your mortgage every month. You mention none of this at work. The rule: real estate builds wealth in 3 directions simultaneously: appreciation, amortization, and income. Most people only count the first one and wonder why the math feels slow.
Path B, the waiter. Age 31 to 35. At 31, your salary reaches $72,000. You upgrade the apartment. Rent goes to $1,780. The neighborhood is better. Commute is shorter. These are real benefits. They cost $240 more a month with nothing attached. At 32, you get serious. You've saved $44,000. You work with an agent named Patricia. First offer loses to a cash buyer. Second falls apart because the appraisal comes in $9,000 low and the seller won't move. Third collapses at inspection over a foundation issue nobody disclosed. The process exhausts you in a way you didn't anticipate. You take a break at 33. The market is volatile. Articles this month alone, 3 about a potential correction, 2 about generational housing lock, 1 that says, buy now before it gets worse. You wait for a clear signal. At 34, you buy $318,000 for a 2-bedroom. Down payment, $31,800. Mortgage rate, 6.4%. Monthly payment, $1,890. You got there. 7 years after the pre-approval letter, 7 years after the $247,000 house in the neighborhood with the good bones. The house costs $71,000 more. The rate is worse. The payment is $250 higher than Path A's original mortgage. You move in at 34. It is a good house. You feel relief and something harder to name underneath it. Path A, the buyer, age 36 to 40. Clara moves out at 36. A young couple takes the basement at $1,050 a month. They bring their own furniture. They are easy. They stay 3 years. Because the mortgage is partially offset by rental income, you've been able to invest $600 a month into a total market index fund since 31. 5 years of $600 at historical average returns, $43,800. At 38, home value $339,000, mortgage balance $171,000, equity $168,000. You have repainted every room. You replaced the deck at 35. You know where every shutoff valve is, which drain runs slow in winter, which window sticks after rain. This is what owning a house for 11 years actually is. It becomes part of how you know yourself. Not glamorous, not passive, real. At 40, home value $362,000, mortgage balance $158,000, equity $204,000, index fund $81,000, combined net worth $285,000. Same car, 143,000 miles. Nobody at the office knows any of this. Path B, the waiter, age 36 to 40. At 36, 2 years into the house you bought at 34, the roof needs replacing, $14,200. You open a home equity line of credit because most of your savings went to the down payment. Monthly HELOC repayment, $340. Effective housing cost, now $2,230 a month. At 38, equity $41,000, 4 years in. Path A is 11 years in. At 40, home value $334,000, mortgage balance $268,000, equity $66,000, no rental income. The basement is a storage room you mean to deal with someday. Index fund, 3 years at $400 a month, balance $18,400. Combined investable net worth $84,400.
The midpoint gap. Age 40. Path A. Equity $204,000. Rental income $1,100 per month. Index fund $81,000. Combined $285,000. Path B. Equity $66,000. No rental income. Index fund $18,400. Combined $84,400. The gap is $200,600. They make roughly the same income. They own comparable houses. They both paid every month without fail for years. But one started at 27 and let time do what time does to real estate. The other waited 7 years for certainty that arrived late and cost more when it got there. Here's what nobody tells you about the house you didn't buy. It wasn't the house you lost, it was the equity you didn't build while you were paying rent, the rental income that never compounded into investments, the 7 years of amortization that never worked on your behalf. Every year of waiting felt like a reasonable year to wait. Together, they cost $200,600. The shift. The best time to buy was the first time you were ready, not certain, ready. Certainty is a story we tell ourselves to justify the comfort of staying still. Path A. The buyer. Age 41 to 45. At 42, the mortgage balance falls below $140,000, 13 years of extra principal payments, 2 refinances. Equity reads $231,000. The tenant downstairs is a nurse practitioner named Simone. 3 years in, never late, treats the place like it's hers. Rent is $1,240 a month. You haven't raised it in 2 years because she is worth more than $50 a month in goodwill. The index fund, fed for 11 years by the rental offset, holds $127,000. Home value at 44, $391,000. Mortgage balance, $138,000. Equity, $253,000. Combined net worth, $380,000. At 27, you had $23,000 and a pre-approval letter and 1 night to decide. Path B. The waiter. Age 41 to 45. At 42, 8 years into the house you bought at 34, equity $106,000. HELOC paid off. The neighborhood is good. You like it here. You've started investing seriously, $600 a month now for 4 years. Fund balance $34,000. Combined net worth $140,000. Things are moving. You feel momentum building. At 45, combined net worth approximately $162,000. The final gap. Age 45. Path A, $380,000 combined. Mortgage nearly paid. Rental income running 18 years. The machine is quiet and permanent. Path B,
$162,000 combined. Mortgage has 19 years remaining. Compounding is real now, but starting late. The gap is $218,000. They started the same year, they earned the same income, they lived in similar houses in similar neighborhoods and paid their bills and went to work and lived their lives. One made an offer on a Tuesday morning, the other waited for better conditions. The house did not make one of them wealthy, the house gave one of them 18 years. And 18 years compounding in real estate and in markets that move with time, not with permission, that is the whole game. The close. Somewhere tonight, a 27-year-old has a pre-approval letter and a listing they've been staring at for 11 days. The house costs $247,000. The inspector found a few things. The rate isn't perfect. Their agent says make the offer. They are going to sleep on it tonight. They are going to think about the rate, about whether prices will fall, about whether they're really ready, about whether 27 is too young to be this committed to something this large. Here is what nobody tells them. The rate can be refinanced, the neighborhood will change, the walls can be repainted, the water heater will eventually be replaced regardless of when you buy. What cannot be recovered is the year that passes while you wait for conditions that will never be as clean as you want them. You cannot buy back 2025 prices. You cannot reclaim 7 years of equity you didn't build. You cannot generate 18 years of rental income from a basement you converted at 31 if you don't own the house. The pre-approval letter expires in 90 days. That is more than enough time to make one decision that compounds quietly behind every ordinary Tuesday for the next 18 years. The house doesn't have to be perfect. It has to be yours.